We are surrounded with technology, and that technology divides us into three groups basis how we use that technology. The first group is called digital outcasts, and they are really our parents who don't want to do anything with the technology, or they are fine without dealing with checking mails or anything. They don't need to. The second, which is our generation, is digital settlers. When we are settling on this new land called digital technology. When we were young, there was no digital technology around, and we had to say sit in libraries and go through books and pick out references in our college days. But now people just go to Google and type out whatever they want and download whatever they want. So, we are those who are settling on this new land of digital technology. The third group, which is the most luckiest group of them all, is digital natives, our kids. When they were born with a Facebook page and a Gmail account and perhaps a blog or two about them on the same day that they were born. So, for them technology is like oxygen, it is everywhere. So, for them it will be very easy to deal with technology. It is people like us who are really struggling with using of technology. And that is where user experience design as a discipline comes in. And if a system that we use to get our job done feels like it understands us, it responds to what we want, and it helps us get our job done, that is a system which is well designed. And when I say well designed, it is not from the perspective of technical designing, but from the perspective of those who make the technology understanding the psychology behind it, understanding the users. And user experience design really starts with that first word, which is users. So, user centricity is really the discipline, even if it is called user experience design. Day in and day out, we are dealing with technology, and even if we want to take money out of our own bank accounts, if you go to ATM, the ATM screen is the first interface that presents the challenge. What to press, where to press. My mother is not ready to go to an ATM to withdraw money, and why does that happen? Because the ATMs and the interfaces and the buttons are not designed keeping in mind people who are averse to technology, people who do not know how to use technology. The time limits are too short. There are language barriers that we have in this country which need to be overcome, and there are several things which are risky because it is money and people care about money. Now, we are booking tickets. How many times have you tried booking a ticket and you lost your money? You got refund later on, but the experience has been one of irritation. And that irritation level is something that comes because something does not match our expectations of how the technology should behave, or the technology's constraints because of which certain things cannot be done. Technology is becoming better at understanding us, but that irritation level is something that people need to understand that needs to be defeated in order to create great interactions. And user experience designers are the ones who take away that irritation. There is one experiment called Columbia obstruction device, and that experiment is that there is a rat on one side of a cage, and on the other side of the cage there is a piece of cheese, and between the rat and the cheese there is an electrical grid. So, if the rat has to go and get the cheese, the rat has to endure some amount of electrical shock in order to reach on that side. Now, the experiment is such that if you increase cheese size gradually, there is a point where the rat does not mind going through that electrical shock and gets onto the other side and eats the cheese. It is like IRCTC. I mean, we book all our train tickets through IRCTC. We hate it, but we use it. It is one of the most used websites in the country. Why? Because the cheese size is too big. I need to go somewhere. So, I need to endure the electrical shock in order to get that. But on the other hand, there was another side of the experiment where the cheese size remained the same and the shock level was reduced gradually. So, there was one point where the shock was tolerable enough for the rat to go across and get the same size of cheese. Now, most of the products that we have today and most of the systems that are there, they are not suddenly going to increase the size of the cheese, or I would say that there are several products which want my attention, several banks which want my interactions on their website. Or say, let's take an example of ClearTrip, for instance. As opposed to any other booking service, if you go to ClearTrip, your experience is so nice that you don't want to go elsewhere. And that's the beauty of user experience designs. That's the role of user experience design, where you have to take the irritation out. It should be very easy interaction and it should get you something at the end of the day. And it should be something which makes you use that service or use that product again and again. And that's really the success of good user experience design. Every field has a beginning, and user experience design, although people think that suddenly they have been hearing about user experience design or UX design for last 5 years, it's been there for a long time. And it really started in the Second World War, where it was understood that the user and the human in human computer interaction was as important as designing a system that is efficient. In the Second World War, Allied planes were designed in a particular way, which was the way in which cockpits were designed that time. And there used to be a throttle which was based on the current technology, perhaps, which was automobile technology, where you used to push the throttle to take the plane up and pull the throttle to take the plane down. And the planes were happening, like the tests were happening pretty fine, the planes were perfect, but only in combat conditions, the same planes, the same pilots who were trained on those planes used to crash. Only in a dog fight where people are shooting at you in sky, that used to happen. So, people wondered what's wrong, the design is perfect, everything is perfect. Those people are trained as well, and in training those were the same pilots that did not do anything wrong. So, why is it happening that when somebody is shooting at you, the planes are falling down? Why? So, they called a psychologist and asked him to take a ride along with a pilot. So, the psychologist came down and said that you are doing it all wrong, you need to change this. So, they said, what do we need to change? The psychologist said that just change the way the throttle is designed. When you push, it should actually go down, and when you pull, it should go up. So, they asked him, why do we need to make this change? And he said that, see, you have to understand, when a human being is scared, frightened of something, somebody shooting at you, the first reaction of a human body is to contract. So, at a dogfight situation, all the pilots were doing was contracting, and so they were basically pulling the lever, so pulling the throttle, and the planes used to fall down. That time people realized that there is a human factor in all this, that for a design to be effective, you need to also understand the psychological forces that govern the human computer interaction, and that is where user experience design really started. And that was much before technology was in everybody's hands. In the beginning, I said that technology is everywhere, but the amount of technology which is available to a single individual, we must see it in perspective to understand how powerful we should actually be feeling right now. The simple smartphone that you have in your hand today has more technological advancements than a satellite which is orbiting Mars right now, which was sent 16 years back. Now, that is the kind of complexity that you have in your smartphone. With that kind of power, that smartphone can do several tasks for you, and we are barely using 2% of what we have in your hand. But with usage of technology also comes the challenges of interactions and meaningful interactions, because not everybody is a savvy user. My mother would have difficulty figuring out what sound is playing, although it is so simple. If I start an application and make that application listen to a song, and therefore then I know the words of that song. All those sensors that are built in will take care of my health, my routine, my water intake, my several things that I can easily do through my smartphone. So, that is the kind of power that we already have. And because of this, we must appreciate that the equation between us and the technology is changing, or I would say that has already changed. You must have heard about words like uploads and downloads, and those words were really coined in the days when the computers were as big as this room, and they were mainframe computers, and they were the gods, and the people who used those computers were like mere mortals. So, whatever came down as information from the computers were downloaded from the computers, and it was with respect uploaded onto the computers. Now, today those are not gods anymore. Actually, they are serving us, they are our servants. So, the equation has changed, therefore, the words upload and download does not have any meaning. And in some case of some applications, you must see that transfer is a word which is used more than upload or download. So, now if you can use a technology or you can't use a technology does not reflect upon you, it reflects upon the technology. Like my friend was saying the other day, I can't use this mobile phone. Whose fault is it? It's not the fault of the person who is using the mobile phone, but it's the fault of the mobile phone design itself, that it did not take into account a novice user, and therefore, it has made it very difficult for the person to start using the features of that particular mobile phone. So, the fault lies now with technology if the technology does not understand you, and such kind of technology will soon become less and less irritating and less visible also. You already have Google's driverless cars. There are things that you simply do and not pull any buttons or take control of anything or do anything, and that is what perhaps the technology was supposed to be intended as. There is a very old film called Journey to Moon. It is a black and white film, it does not have any sound, and it is a very short one, I guess 3.5 minutes, you can see it on YouTube. In that film, there were a bunch of people who want to go from Earth to Moon, so they get inside a rocket, the rocket gets fired, it goes and lands on the lunar surface, and then they come out. And there are some scenes which are shot inside the space shuttle, so to say, and those guys are not doing anything. They are not pressing any levers, they are not putting on any headsets, they are not talking to the control towers, nothing is happening. Why? Maybe because the minds that created that film were simplistic enough to say that these things should just happen, and indeed these things should just happen. Like the Google's car, you should just get inside and go somewhere, that is it. The technology, the way we see it today is perhaps creating that irritation that we spoke about. But if user experience design goes a little more forward, they will realize that perhaps it is wrong to have the interface in the first place. It should be intuitive enough, the system should be intuitive enough to understand what the user wants, and then just simply give that to the user, and that is the best form of user experience. Okay, so who are these strange species called user experience designers? The word suggests design, so therefore, should they be from visual design side of things? Should there be marketing people who know exactly what to sell to whom? Should there be behavioral psychologists who understand how the mind functions and what to expect and what people expect out of a system? Or should they be businessmen who should put that tag of good user experience with their products and make it successful in the marketplace? I think there is not one single answer to this question, who should become a user experience designer. A good user experience designer needs to be all these things put together as one. So, if you are from developer side, engineering side, you are from marketing side, advertising side, visual design side, or simply you are a good writer who understands how to write for good responses or to get good responses, you all are qualified to become a user experience designer. All you need is training in this particular subject, and you need to read a lot about it, because this field also is evolving, it's changing every time. So, what user experience design means right now, if you see, there are several infographics available on Google of user experience design or UX design, and it will show about 20-30 different disciplines put together in one circle. And as the time goes by, you will realize that these things will be merging together, but you must first appreciate that the user experience designer is bringing the best from all these words together. It's I need to understand technologies, I need to understand how websites are made, applications are made, how systems work together. If it's a banking system, how does it work with my credit cards? I need to understand all this. I need to be able to see a larger picture. So, I have high hopes for the next generation of people who are studying any of these subjects right now, whether it is in psychology, consumer behavior, technology, design, and those are the people who will set or who will help tomorrow's products create great user experiences.